Welcome back, guys. So the front bumper and grille are dry. They look good. They've dried nice in satin, which is what we wanted. So I'm happy with them. Now I keep saying I've got a Santa Pod event in April. There's a list of things I need to do to the car, and I figured I might as well get the painting done first. That's not really on the list. It's not a priority because obviously I'm taking it drag racing. I don't really care what it looks like. However, the grey's a slightly different colour on the other side and the back bumper's a slightly different colour. So I'm thinking, the car's covered up, I've got the sheet out, most of the masking's done. Shall I just crack on with it? So that's my plan. I'm going to take the back bumper off, prep the other side lower half, spray them, and then that's done then. And then I can start doing all the mechanical things. Hopefully, I'll have enough time. That's the plan. So the first job, I'm going to take the rear bumper off and sit it on the bench over there so it's out the way. These are really easy to get off. A couple of 13mm nuts and a couple of 10mm bolts from inside the wheel arches. Actually, I tell a lie, the Mark 1s just slide in. Mark 2s have a couple of acne screws going through the wheel arches, but these literally just slide into the brackets. So really easy. Remove the cables. And away we go, that's it. So the bumper, I painted this in 2015, and although it's a little bit dusty, it's still in really good condition. And it's a little bit of a shame to paint it, but the grey is a different colour. They're both meant to be hurricane grey. However, I don't know if you can see there, this one's definitely a little bit greener. It's more of like a CV grease colour, and this is more of a bluey grey. So this is probably a better colour for an early Mark 1. Mine's obviously a later Mark 1, but you know, I'm happy with it. It was cheap enough paint. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, but like I said, I just can't have them being that different. It will just look wrong. So I'll take my time now, paint it, and it's done then. Right, I've got some water, got my Scotch Brite. I'm going to crack on. There is a little bit here I need to repair with some sandpaper where the paint's just flaked off slightly, but other than that, it looks really good. So, for those in the know, this is a GTE lower spoiler attached to an SR bumper. Basically, GTEs have just got this little valance bit at the bottom, which looks kind of sporty. It's got a little flare, it looks nice. SRs don't, but the bumper's the same, so this has just been attacked. Yeah, the exhaust cutout, I've actually made it a little bit bigger because I've got a 3-inch tip on this exhaust, and it was just catching. I didn't want that, so I've cut it out a little bit bigger. I think it looks really good, and it's very subtle, you can't really tell. So stuff like this, you need to really concentrate on all the little nooks and crannies. These are the bits what are likely to peel when you pressure wash the car in a couple of years. So you just spend a lot of time making sure these are nice and clean, get the shine off, and get the dirt out, because if you don't, it will peel. You'll regret it. A lot of smart repairers don't go quite into the corner enough for my liking, and they look good when they're done, but give it a couple of years, paint blasts away. So just take your time, do these things properly, and it will last. Like I said, I did this 6 years ago. I always pressure washed the car. Nothing's ever peeled off. I'm just going to use a heat gun to try and get this red tape off. Obviously a little bit of the paint's peeled here, but I'm not really worried about that. That'll flatten out easily. I love fresh paint on old cars. I always find you put it back together, it looks a right mess for ages and ages and ages. All of a sudden you sprayed it, you put it back together, you polish it, and it looks fantastic, and I just love that feeling. I've just used a little bit of 320 just to get rid of this slight bit of peeling paint here. It's obviously been caught or knocked at some point, and it's just made it lift. The problem with paint is it never sticks to plastic as well as it does steel. You always find bumpers and stuff, if you do catch them or you do like somebody reverses into you lightly, so anything like that, it will make the paint lift, unfortunately, and then you can have problems. So you just want to carefully feather it back and spend your time on it. Don't use too coarse of stuff because it will ruin it. Just using the finer grey Scotch-Brite on top. And then, once this is done, I should be able to dry it off with a heat gun and a bit of rag, and it should be ready for paint bar panel wipe. Again, as I've said in previous videos, I'll just use soapy water, hot soapy water, bit of Scotch-Brite. It collects the dust, it cleans the panel as you're doing it, and it stops you needing to wear a mask because obviously the water suppresses all the dust. So it's just a bit easier to do it. It's a nice experience, more therapeutic. So, I think that is getting there. I'm going to dry it off now. So as you can hopefully see, the shine's gone. It's looking really good. There's just a couple little bits I'm going to give it a little bit more. But that is pretty much ready for paint, I believe. Right, this side, there's a little bit of bubbling in the doors. If I'm honest, the doors could do with a new skin. But I'm not bothered at the minute. There's a little bit of rust on the bottom of this wing. Again, it could do with a new wing. But, you know, for what I use it for, it's a fast road fun car. It's not completely rotten, it's just, you know, scabbing. So I'll clean it back, do the best I can with it, and then paint it again. It's not perfect, obviously. It's not the ideal repair, however, it will do for this. So I'm going to start with some 120 grit and just take the high spots off the door. Right, I'm going to get a mask, because this is dirty. Right, so you can probably see there's a little bit of rust here. Ideally that needs cutting out and new bit welding in. Reality, that's not going to happen. Like I've said previously, it's not that kind of car. I don't want it to be absolutely mint, I want to be able to use it. I'm not spending £4 grand on a paint job, I'm doing it myself. It's costing me like 50 quid in some materials. So what I plan to do is I'm going to clean it back the best I can with the grinder, get as much rust as I can out, and then I'll put a skim of filler over the top, dint it in ever so slightly, just so you can't see it. Little light skim of filler. Yes, it is a bit of a bodge, but I'm doing it myself. I'm keeping the car's not going anywhere, so it's not like I'm making it mint to be, you know, to sell to somebody else. This is just going to be my own car, so I don't really care. That'll probably give it another 5 years, then I'll obviously cut the rust out and do it properly then, but for the time being, this will do. So again, I'm using a Merkur Abranet sanding block. Really good. The paper's like a mesh, it's like a plastic mesh, so it doesn't clog up very well. They last ages, and being a flat block, although it's physical, you can ensure that the panel's nice and straight afterwards. If you use a DA, you'll end up with loads of low spots, and it'll look crap. So especially a colour like this, it shows all the imperfections. Darker colours are terrible for that. So yeah, I'm just using this. When I get the grinder now, I'm just grind some of these little bits back and see how bad they are. So I'm just going to use a normal flap disc on a grinder and just clean this bit back. I've cleaned it back. Like I say, it's got a bit of rust there. I kind of knew that. It's not the end of the world. I'm going to put a bit of filler in, and that'll be okay for 5 years. Yes, it is a bodge. If you think it's a bodge, you can comment that it's a bodge. I don't really care. It is literally a fast road fun car I use the odd weekend. It leaves in the garage. I can't warrant spending a few £100 on a mint door. So for now, it'll have some filler. I'm painting it myself, so it's not going to cost a lot. My friend's a panel beater. I'm pretty convinced that between me and him, we could cut this out and weld a new bit in at some point. But I haven't got the time at the minute. So for now, that'll do. So once again, I'm using dolphin glaze and an onion board to mix. And I've also got a nice flexible steel applicator. So put it on nice and light. Right. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to let that dry and block it back and see what it looks like. Right, the filler work's done. I'm now going to give it a little bit of X primer, U-Pol X primer, and a little bit of Rattle Can High Build primer. The reason I'm using this, not 2K, is just for speed really. I can't be bothered to mix the paint, can't be bothered to clean the gun, and it's only a little area, so this is perfect. Oh, hot work this. So I'm just going to heat the panel up a little bit. Just to let the X primer adhere a little bit better. Yeah, so don't worry about the overspray. The whole car is going to get rubbed down and machine polished with 1500. So stuff like this, obviously, I need to paint that anyway, so I'm really not that bothered. That'll come off with the Scotch-Brite, but I'm just trying to do this quickly. So that's flashed off nicely. I'll give it a second coat. So I'm going to give this 10 minutes or so to dry, and then I'll go on with the high build. Primer's all done. I'm going to give it a good 24 hours, 48 hours to fully cure off. I'm going to block it down with 320, then Scotch-Brite the lot. Mask all this off properly, clean it all up, and then I can put the satin 2K direct gloss straight on top of this, and then the bumper at the same time. Yeah, so once all the satin's fully cured, I will probably wash the whole car really thoroughly. I will 1500 the black, go over the whole thing because there's a few bits I'm not happy with, and then I'll go and carefully machine polish the whole car. It's not going to be perfect, but from previous experience it will come up really well. So that's the plan. Right, it's been 48 hours. Paint's obviously gone off. I'm going to block this back now with some 320, and then I'm going to Scotch-Brite the whole bottom half, mask it up, and then spray it. Right, we're all prepped. I've panel wiped the whole thing. Paint's mixed. We're now ready to spray. Right guys, I finished the spraying. Everything's had 2 coats. I'm really pleased with it. It looks good for a DIY finish. I'm going to let everything harden, and I'm going to wrap the video up there. So like I said previously, if you like what you see, please like, comment and subscribe. Thank you guys.